I have peace. I said, and then that's where I led into 1 Corinthians. I could talk about prophecy, but if I don't have that peace and mercy and forgiveness, it ain't going to do anybody any good, especially me. And that's why I'm dealing with this today with you. Because it came so clear yesterday. I said, if I don't focus on God and have that peace, I'm not going to make it. And I'm sharing that with you today. Because you see, you're going to go through these things too. And you're going to come out of left field when you don't expect it. They're going to come out when you have done your level best to do everything you can possibly do. Go beyond the call of duty. Help people where you're not even supposed to, and still get persecuted for it. So, I thought it was important to deal with mercy today. Now let's go to, I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to read something from Strong's. Strong's, it's number 3622 in the New Testament. This is from the Greek word, Strong's. It's talking about being merciful. It says, compassionate of the ills of others. Compassionate of the ills of others. So that's pretty good. That pretty well sums it up. However, there was something that even struck even closer to home when I read it. It says the character of God to be expressed in His people. So wow. The outward is to be able to be compassionate to the ills of others, no matter what they're doing to you, and to be able to take the character of God and express it from within. That is being merciful. You can't say, well, I'll forgive you, but I really don't want to. Yeah, I'll forgive you, but you better never let it happen again. If I got to, I'll forgive you. Husbands and wives like to do that. They love to just pick, and they will hold grudges, and they will wait for that moment, to push that button and set them off. And boy, there you go. People you work with will do that to you too. But something happens with people at work, sometimes they're just picking on you. And you can tease with them and cut up, and it just doesn't hurt as much as someone you really love who might be picking on you. Now, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 9. Now, I want to cover a few scriptures. I laid the foundation there. I took up about 30 minutes. Now, I want to cover about the last 20, 25 minutes here. I want to cover a few scriptures that I want you to write down and think about. All right, so the point is this. We have to be able to understand how we encompass mercy and able to share it with other people in the midst of being attacked and persecuted. All right, that's what we have to do. So, if you know all the prophecy and God's given you a revelation that nobody else in the whole world's got and you're the only one who has it, if you don't have the love of God, you might as well just put it in the drawer because it ain't going to do you any good. You won't be in that kingdom. All right, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 9. All right, Ezekiel chapter 9. And just cover a few scriptures. I'll go through them real quick. Not too quick, but just to cover them, not to spend a lot of time on. Verse 1, Ezekiel 9. So he cried and also said to my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, every one with his destroying weapon in his hand. This is the end time when God said, enough is enough. Go through the city and destroy them. Now, here's a prophecy that God's talking about. And behold, 6 men came from the way in the higher gate, which lies toward the north, and every man with a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, and the writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the bronze altar, and the glory of God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, upon which he was, and to the threshold of the house, and he called to the man clothed in the linen who had the writer's inkhorn. So here's God coming up from the mercy seat, gives out the information. The angels go out, the man clothed in linen goes out. They all got slaughter weapons in their hand, and they're ready for the sound to go out and begin the slaughter. I'm talking about the slaughter. I'm not just on 1 or 2 people. He's going to go wipe out, who knows, millions of people. Millions of people here. The slaughter is about to begin. Verse 4. The Lord said to him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark on the foreheads of the men that cry and sigh for the abominations that are done in the midst. Those people who have the compassion to understand that what is taking place, they're crying for it because they understand how bad this is, the abominations that's there. What are they doing? They are outwardly expressing the mercy and the compassion that God has given them from within. And when the slaughter begins to take place, God puts a mark and seals those people and protects them. Why? Because they had the mercy and the compassion to understand. Why? Because they cried and they sighed for the abominations that they saw. When you looked at the news last week and you saw where the state is starting to teach, how do you say it in a mixed audience, what they want to teach our children? The sexual reproduction, and okay to teach first graders, second graders, third graders, and how not to be judgmental, and how it's okay to accept homosexuality. And by the time it's fifth grade, to teach all the different angles and how it's promoted to our youth. Does not make you cry and sigh for that abomination? What hope does our children have? I hope we're all crying for something like that, because God says, because you have forsaken me, I will forsake your kids. I hope that makes all of us cry and sigh for that abomination that's about to take place. It's horrible. This is just the beginning. What shot will they have for learning and understanding the truth of God? And the more you and I speak up, that light's going to get brighter because the rest of the world's getting darker. Like that light does, like in the outside, it draws bugs. And all that evil is going to be drawn around His people. Just like a bug. And He's going to come after you because you're homophobic. You're racist. You're a bigot. You're, you name it. Anything that's against God, that's you. It's going to come at us, and that's what's happening right now. And it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse. And you know what God's looking for? He's looking inside of us. And He wants to see what I just read here, the character of God to be expressed in His people. You don't think Jesus Christ on the mercy seat cries and sighs for the abomination that His anger is getting so great that He's coming to the point He says when He can stand it no longer, the Father's going to say, okay, it's time. It has reached the Sodom and Gomorrah. There's no more hope for this world. You go in there now and stop it before it's all over. And at the very last moment, Jesus Christ is going to come down and He's going to stop it. Because there's people who are expressing the love of God through mercy, through understanding. And by doing so, they develop the character of God. By understanding mercy. Micah chapter 6. Micah chapter 6. Micah chapter 6, and I'm reading verse 6. With what shall I come before the Lord, and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before Him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or 10,000 of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, and the fruit of my body for the sin of the soul? Because He has shown you, O man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly and to love mercy. To love mercy, that means that you cherish over the fact that you can get back at somebody, or that you can make someone look bad and prove that they're wrong, that you will rather love the mercy to help that person overcome their fault so that they may be able to go into the kingdom. God says, I can have all these sacrifices, and that's what Paul's telling us in the New Testament. I can do all this stuff. I can have the prophecy. I can have all this understanding. I speak in tongues. He said, but if I don't have that love, I'm nothing. That's what God's saying here. He says, I can have rivers of oil. I can have tons of sacrifices. But if I don't love that mercy first, what good is that to God? He don't need all that. What He's looking for in you and I is the character that He wants to have. The character that Jesus Christ has, sitting on that mercy seat. To love mercy and to walk humbly with my God. Hosea chapter 6. Hosea chapter 6. Hosea 6 and verse 6. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice. Every year Israel would sacrifice. Every day there'd be sacrifices. And God says, I never wanted sacrifices. He says, I gave them to you because that's what you wanted. And God gave them a way to cleanse the guilt out their conscience by doing something physical, which Hebrews tells us can never take away the sins. Can never take away the sins. But He gave it to them for what? To cover. To let them know that what they have done, that God, from His mercy seat, has just taken and just like took something like a dog would, buried it and covered it up. It was covered. Until the time that Jesus Christ's blood removes it. Now, there's another interesting thing about that. We'll cover this at atonement. It appears, from all indications from the Bible, that once a sin is created, it always exists. Now, let me explain. It doesn't mean it exists with you anymore, but it's like it has a life. Now, I want you to go back and read and think about this for atonement coming up in the next month or so. Because God says at the end time, He's going to take, with a fit man, lead Satan out into the wilderness, to some dark, desolate place. And what is He doing? He's going to confess all the sins over him and removes all those sins with him. He takes them all and He places them back on the creator of all those sins, Satan himself. How can He do that if they're all been gone and disappeared and they don't exist no more? Now, just something to think about. But that is the appearance of what God's talking about. So it's like when you create something, it's existing now. That's sin. And it has to be, right now, it had to be before Christ, it had to be removed, it says. It had to be covered. It had to be displaced. It had to be taken away from us. The type of the example in the Old Testament was that when they had the sacrifice for sin, they would take the bones and all this and bring it outside the camp. They had to get rid of it, which was a type. And so what the type was at the end time that there's all those sins. And He's going to put them back on Satan, and He's going to take them out by a fit man, talking about one of the archangels in all probability. And because He doesn't say, but that's the indication, and bring him out to an uninhabited wilderness. And when you look at this with the Hubble telescope now and have four things go out, who knows where that could be? That's way out there. It could be way, way out there. But God's saying here that He would rather have mercy than sacrifice. Mercy than sacrifice. James chapter 2. James chapter 2. And I'm reading verse 13. James chapter 2, verse 13. For he shall have judgment without mercy that has shown no mercy. And mercy rejoices against judgment. That's pretty simple here. God's saying that if you don't show mercy, God's going to have judgment on you because you didn't show mercy. Pretty simple. So now I'm just going to go through a couple of these real quick. Let's go back to Proverbs because there's a few in Proverbs I want to cover before I bring this to a close. David spent a lot of time in meditation with God, and you will find a lot of his Psalms and his Proverbs deals around the character and the nature of God. Because see, he tried to get close, he wanted to be like God, and he didn't want that separation. And you will find that closer you get with God, you will be dealing more in love, you will be dealing more in forgiveness, more in compassion, and all those things that you deal with toward others, God will bring inside of you a peace you never had before. You will be able to deal with things you never thought you could ever deal with. You will accomplish things you never dreamed you could ever accomplish. And all because your concern is not for you, but it's for someone else. And because of that, God takes His mercy and gives it to you. And so you're able to deal with things like, wow, you look back and you have to praise God because you know years ago you said, man, I know years ago I'd have never done that. I'd have gone after that guy.